the Cornish, North Cornish coastal town of village, in fact, of Tintagel, famous for its old post office building, which you can see in the photograph there, and its castle ruins, and a street that you can walk along, which hasn't got anything too dramatic in it, but it's one of my favourite parts of the United Kingdom, if not the favourite, for some reason that I can't really explain. So, most people, when they come to Tintagel, they will have a wander around the shops and a look around the post office, if they can afford to pay to go in, and then they will, in some cases, most places, they'll flock down the track to the castle ruins, and that's great. What I decided to do instead was to have a coastal walk, and funnily enough, you don't find that many people doing it. There are some, but often as not all that many. Most of them go where most of them go, and not so many of them go to what is in fact by far the best bit. So, a coastal walk around Tintagel, beginning to the south of the village and moving in a northerly direction as if you were heading up the coast towards Boscastle. I'm looking out at the headland here at Tintagel, and this is the famous spot where tourists come and shell out an arm and a leg to go across that bridge that was built fairly recently. Some people think it's great. I think it's a bit of an eyesore. I think the old bridge was much nicer, although this is a lot more accessible for everybody, I guess. So in that respect, I can understand why they did it. What you've got there is the alleged remains of King Arthur's castle, although the reality is it was no such thing. It was, I think it was Richard I or somebody who was one of the kings, and I'm sure there were many of them in this part of the world, who built that castle, and I think it's probably 12th or 13th century or something. It's easy enough to look it up, but it's beautiful views from out there, no two ways about that, and there's usually some archaeological work going on or another, but you can get in there, you can walk down, or you can come down in a Land Rover, you can go back up on the Land Rover if you want. I think it's better to walk myself, at least walk down, give it a go, but this is quite a spot and well worth the trouble of coming to Tintagel Headland. Okay, this be Tintagel Castle, or to be more precise, the ruins of a castle. The main bulk of what would have constituted the building is here on the cliff, directly in front of us. Okay, and it's interesting. You can walk through the remains of a gate and into the what would have been a courtyard, I suppose, and then you go across the bridge there up onto the headland where you see the remains of other brickwork, slate work by way of a wall. I mean, it would have been quite a place to try and get into if you weren't welcome. And then across on the headland itself, there's various bits of archaeological stuff that people have dug up and things, and traces of old buildings and things and walls and so on, which, as I say, is very interesting, and the views from up there are outstanding. I mean, you can see right the way across to Trevose Head, which is just north of Newquay, north of Morganport and that sort of way. So you can see quite some way, especially on a glorious morning like this. But the thing is, I've just been checking, English Heritage, who runs Tintagel Castle, remains, because it's not actually a castle, is it? Let's be frank. The cost to go in there is £23 for an adult. £23. So what's that in dollars? Probably about, depending on the exchange rate, $27, $28. Similar amount for euros. That's an awful lot of money in this day and age to be paying to go across there. When I was a kid, and when I was much older than being a kid, you could go across there. It was affordable. You could have a nice few hours. Now they've made it so that it's unaffordable. 3 of you together, you're looking at the greater part of £75 just to get in there. Oh, and you've got to pay to park up the town as well. And I find that discouraging. And that's a shame, because I'd love to go across there, but ain't no way I'm giving you £23 to walk over a bridge. Nice bridge, horrible bridge, depending on your point of view. But I'm not now. It's too much, guys. It's too much. These days are supposed to be days of struggle and difficulty for many people. So they're creating a situation whereby the only people that can afford to come to these kind of places are the ones that can afford to come to these kind of places, and everybody else is excluded from it. I keep hearing about inclusion all the time, but I'm not seeing very much of it when it comes down to it. So there you go. Little fishing boat there, just the other side of the bridge. Well, not on the other side of the bridge, he's in the water, isn't he? But you don't often see many boats around here. And there's Merlin. Hello, Merlin. Lazy dog this morning. Couldn't get him up. How beautiful it is, though. With or without your £23, it's still beautiful. Thankfully, at the moment, they don't charge you to come on the coast path. I wonder how long it will be before somebody starts doing that. Oh, goodness me, please don't. Let there be some places left in this money-devouring, cash-motivated country where we can still go without having to be extraordinarily wealthy in order to go there. Somewhere for the ordinary people, please. And this'll do me, especially on a day like this. Tintagel Headland. Thought I'd stop for a coffee. Just a coffee. Down at the cafe here in the cove that I know as King Arthur's Cove. I don't know whether it's called that or not. That's what I call it. The sign ahead of me, directly ahead of me here, says Coast Path, public footpath, Boss Castle, by a rocky valley, 4.5 miles. And I got to tell you, you'd struggle to find a more beautiful walk. I've done it before, and it's a great walk. It's not easy, a lot of up and down, lots of scrambling. Well, sort of scrambling, but it's not strenuous either. You have to have a level of fitness. But I mean, I'm 65. I'm waiting for a hip operation. Not that I've got much intention of doing it, but in theory that's what's happening. And I could walk that comfortably. I can do it. So you probably can too. In fact, I have got to do most of it on the way back. I've got to go to Rocky Valley. So here we are, King Arthur's Cove. Here we are on Barra's Nose, which is an outcrop of headland just next to King Arthur's Castle, Beach, Cove, whatever you want to call it. And here's a fascinating thing. Almost all the people go over there, and you can see them on the beach. There's a nice little bit of beach when the tide's out. When the tide's in, there's nothing. And the rest of them are up there on the Castle Headland promontory thing. I kind of like small flies on a large dollop, aren't they? And the fascinating thing is when you just come across here to Barra's Nose, nobody comes. Well, a small number of people do, but just a few. And the view from here is just as good as it is from over there. Slightly higher over there, I expect, but I've not to pay 20 quid to get in. And you're looking across there, down on the beach there, you've got the sort of slightly famous cave known as Merlin's Cave, which goes all the way through the headland and out the other side. And if you don't mind scrambling through a few rocks and dodging a few rock pools, you can actually get through to the other side. And on a sunny day like this, it can be quite a little sun trap just the other side of there. There's not nowhere to go really, but it's a nice little place to just sit, because not many people actually make it through to the other side. They have a look halfway and come out again. Looking between the headland and the main coast, you're looking across the sea towards Port Isaac, and you can just about make out some houses and the glint of maybe a few cars on the car park there at Port Isaac, which is a nice little place to go and have a wander around. I believe they filmed a television programme there, Doc something or other. Doc Martin, is it? I don't know. Don't watch television, so I'm not likely to know those kind of things really. But there you go, the view of Tintagel Headland from Barra's Nose. And you've got the Camelot Castle Hotel just sitting there above the headland doing its thing. It's quirky in there. If you want to go in there and see a little bit of something slightly different, well, I would recommend it. And Merlin doesn't care, one way or the other. Do you, Merlin? There you are, Merlin. You've been to Barra's Nose now. Good boy. Merlin, good boy. This here is Willer Park, this is called. Well, the headland out there is called Willer Park. The cliffs at the side there, probably in the region of about 300 feet high, and they're pretty much vertical. I know this because I've read about it before. I once threw a stone off there, forgetting that I had a dog with me that wasn't on a lead. You can guess the rest, can't you? Dog chased after stone, but fortunately dog had the sense to stop about 1 foot or about a third of a metre away from the edge of the cliff. Boy oh boy, would I have been popular. I got my son with me at the time as well. Never thought about it, never gave it a thought. But this is about, I don't know, half a mile on from King Arthur's Cove, Barra's Nose area. And as you can see, there's nobody here. Well, there's a few people around, but not very many. You're just passing a couple of people as you come and go by. What a lovely spot. And the headland out in the distance there, I believe, is North Devon. Or South Devon, I don't know. It's Devon, anyway. Ain't Cornwall up there. So I don't venture into Devon very much, except when I'm passing through. But this is Willer Park, not to be confused with a area of headland of exactly the same name which exists just this side of Boscastle. So we have two Willer Parks, quite why I don't know, and the meaning of the name I've got absolutely no clue whatsoever, but it is a very beautiful little spot to be. So we're up on Willer Park now, which as you can see is every bit as high as the headland at Tintagel, where all the peoples go, except the peoples tend to stay there. They don't tend to come here very much. Just across from where I'm standing, probably about 10 yards ahead of me, there is a vertical drop, which I probably said before is about 300 feet high, which is quite a significant distance. Out in the distance there, we're looking at Trevose Head, which I wouldn't imagine you can make out very much really, but that's what is over there. So that's just north of Newquay, that is. Well, this is Willer Park, and as we turn around to get a full view, I'm now looking north toward Hartland Point, where there's a radar station there which you can probably just about make out on the headland, on the coast directly opposite us. I don't know whether you can or not. And then looking further across, well, we're looking towards Boscastle now. You can't actually see Boscastle, but what you can see is the caravan park, Trewethed Farm Caravan and Motorhome Club car park, where it's got to be at least £250,000 worth of motorhome. Nah, more than that, probably 4 times as much, given the price of those things. Camper vans, motorhomes, some very expensive pieces of equipment people have got on there, none of which are mine. I have a teeny tiny tent. I'll try and see if we can zoom into where the tents are. I doubt that we'll be able to. No, the camera seems to be struggling to pick that up. That's where the campsite is, over there. Fantastic, isn't it? Not bad. That's Willer Park. And that there is Willer Park again, but from the other side, the Boscastle side. And we've walked all the way along that coast path, up and down, quite a bit of up actually, across Rocky Valley, and then back to the site upon which I am camping. And there, right in front of you, is my car and my little tent. The smallest tent on here, without a doubt, and it's not even mine, I borrowed it, so I'd rather have nothing, to be honest. It's a lot less to look after. But there you go, what a place to camp, huh? What a place to camp. Trewethed Farm, brilliant.